Hello and welcome back. We're continuing our study on the Sermon on the Mount. This time we're looking at Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. Notice what Jesus teaches us there. It says, Matthew 5:13, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all those who are in the house. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." Jesus has just finished the section we know as the Beatitudes. He tells us what sort of heart we need to be having to have true righteousness. And then he goes on and says that we've got to make a difference. He starts out saying we are the salt of the earth. Now, today we may take salt for granted. Maybe it's just that condiment that we have on the table. We'll add a little bit to our cooking. But in the ancient days, salt was of immense importance. Empires were built on the salt trade. There were trading routes throughout the ancient world just for salt. The salt had an innumerable number of uses. It was used for the preserving of food. It was used in the tanning of leather. It was used in medicine. It was used for all sorts of things, and it was extremely expensive. Even today, salt is used for an untold number of things, from pharmaceuticals to cosmetics to the making of glass. It's far from just a common thing. And the thing about salt is that it makes a difference. And that's the emphasis that Jesus is putting here. Verse 13 again. "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot." Jesus is saying here, you have to make a difference. We have to make a difference. Jesus came and made a huge difference. And now we, as his disciples, need to be seeking to make that same difference that Jesus made. Now, what difference, what can we do? How can we make a difference in this world? We can't end poverty, we can't end suffering. That's not the purpose of the gospel. No, we can make a difference by sharing the gospel with those who need it. In Acts 1, verses 16 and 17, it says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, but as it is written, but the righteous man shall live by faith." It is the gospel that makes the difference. And we can make a difference to the world by taking the gospel wherever we go, telling Jesus what the gospel is and how they can obey the gospel. The Apostle Paul gives us a beautiful definition of what the gospel is in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1 to 5. Notice, "Now I make known to you, brethren, the gospel which I preached to you, which also you received, in which also you stand, by which you are saved, if you hold fast to the word which I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day according to the Scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas and then to the 12. You notice, you see, the gospel is how we are saved. The gospel is Christ's death, burial, and resurrection, and then his appearance to the apostles and others. That is how we are saved. Because of Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, we too can be saved. We need to go out and tell people about the gospel and how to obey the gospel. We obey the gospel by following Jesus and doing as he said in Mark 16:16, he said, "He who believes and is baptized will be saved." And when we are baptized, we follow a shadow of Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection. Let's not be tasteless salt, because if we are, we're useless. We're good for nothing except to be thrown out. That's not what we want. Then he goes on and says, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and gives light to all who are in the house. We have to let our light shine before men. But this light doesn't originate with us, it originates with Jesus. John 8, verse 12. Then Jesus again spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. We need to show the light of Jesus. Jesus is the one who has lit our candle. We need to let people see Jesus in our lives. It's not good enough for us to say, well, I've been baptized, I'm a Christian, I go to church on Sunday, and not let people see our lives, not let people see how Jesus has made a difference for us. No, he goes on in Matthew 5, verse 16, let your light shine before men in such a way as they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. As Christians, we are not to hide our light under a basket. We are to let it shine before men so they can see what a difference Christ makes in our life, and thus it can make a difference in their life. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. We have a responsibility to serve our Master. He wants us to make a difference. He wants us to be seen so people will glorify Christ in heaven. We've come to the end of our time here once again. Come back next week as we continue on this study on the Sermon on the Mount.